Your hand's small as F.
Your hands are too soft. Your hands are a lot softer than I thought they would be.
I don't know how to take that.
We prepped, and then finally at 4 weeks out, he was like, all right, you're ready. Pick a show. I drove up the day before the show, competed, and then drove home.
How'd you do?
And then I won the overall for wellness.
Deal.
So
What do you do for work? Did I even ask you this?
I do so much.
Let's hear it.
I do a lot for like GNC TV. So like if you go to any GNC in the country and you're like, hey, do you know Gabby? They're gonna know who Gabby is.
On the Black Friday fun with $1 Ghost Energy.
He's the only one in the world with this condition as far as we know. So they started doing some genetic testing, and he's probably had about 50 to 60 surgeries in his life, just random things that pop up. And my mom made a decision when he was younger, because the doctor said, enjoy the time you have. We have no idea. I just kind of remember waking up at some point in the middle of the night, thinking I was having a nightmare, thinking I was dreaming, thinking I was just like hallucinating, whatever. There was actual physical effects on me keeping that inside. Kind of getting into that, obviously, like, viewer discretion, like, I'll kind of go into, like,
Welcome to the Barbells and Bourbon podcast, where the conversations are raw, real, and relatable. I am your big, bald, bearded, barbell lifting, bourbon drinking son of a bitch, Sean. And joining me today is Gabby Santinoceto.
wrong.
Santa Marina.
Basically.
What is it?
Santinoceto.
Santinoceto.
Yeah.
I knew I was going to mess that up. I practiced for like 5 minutes before you got here.
You gotta say every letter.
Santinoceto.
Yeah.
Got it. Nailed it. Gabby, we had a 10-minute conversation today, and it's just to talk about things that you want to talk about, things that you maybe didn't want to talk about. And in that 10 minutes, I was enlightened. You've had quite a life. Some good, some bad, some interesting. Now, some of the topics could be sensitive to some viewers. You said you would be willing to dive into some of the things, so that's a little warning to you, but don't turn away just yet. Now, of your life experiences, what is some value that you want the viewer to take out of our conversation today?
It's a good one. I don't want to be super stereotypical when I talk either, but truly, almost everyone takes life for granted until someone close to you dies, or until something happens to you. You either take your life for granted, take someone else's life for granted, take your health for granted, kind of all of it. And it really doesn't hit you until something happens. So I think, I hope a lot of people can take away from this. And what I try to remember every day is like, truly, like, life is so precious and your health is precious, and right now and what you have right now, it's so precious. And everyone forgets that until you lose it. You know, you don't know what you have until it's gone. It's so true. So I really hope people can just take the life and take what they have right now and really cherish it and make the most out of what they have. And obviously there's always going to be somebody having a worse time than you. There's always going to be somebody with a harder life than you. Can't compare yourself to other people's hardness. It's about you. Yeah. This is your life. So yeah.
That's it. I mean, that's such a relatable message to me, raw, real, relatable, because I should have been dead a month ago, according to some doctors. And because of that, I've learned to appreciate things a lot more than I used to. And I try not to take things for granted anymore. And it's very easy just to let life pass you by, right? Get caught up in the day-to-day with work and family and hobbies and whatever else that we do to fill our cups. Yeah. But sometimes you just need to hit the pause button and soak it in. So that's a great message, Gabby. And you guys better start appreciating. Not saying everybody takes things for granted, but it's definitely common.
Don't think about it until think about it at the time.
Yeah, until it's like in your face. Great message. So of the things that you sort of teased me with earlier, I want to start from the beginning, because a lot of the things you talked about are from your childhood. So let's take a step back, girl. Where are you from originally?
I'm from Shadyside, Ohio. So super, super small town. I know a lot of people are Pittsburgh area, so Shadyside, Pittsburgh, not the same thing. we don't even have a stoplight in the town. Very, very small town vibes. So that's where I grew up, kind of right on the border of West Virginia, PA. You could go 5 minutes in any direction, it's tri-state. So super small town. I went to a really small Catholic school in the neighboring town, and uniforms and all. And that was kind of like that. There's 5 siblings, so I'm 6. I'm the second oldest. And there's my sister and I, who have the same mom and the dad. And then my mom and my dad got divorced when I was 2.5, I think I was. I don't remember, obviously. And then my mom got remarried to my stepdad when I probably like a 1.5 years or so later. She got pregnant. And then she got married while she was pregnant. And then they had my brother right below me. So 2 sisters, then Spencer. So they had Spencer. And she had a completely normal pregnancy, absolutely no issues, nothing like that. And granted, I was really young, so I don't really remember, but, I knew that they had a great relationship. And then all I know is that they said, you're going to get a little brother soon. And they left and they didn't come back. Like, they kind of just went to the hospital, and a lot of things happened. He ended up being born with a hole in his heart and immediately got open heart surgery. They tried to deliver him, I think at first, if I'm remembering correctly, from just what I've been told, they tried to deliver him like in the local hospital, but he pretty much immediately got transferred to Columbus Children's. So he was at Columbus Children's for a long time, and immediate open heart surgery, and he was like 2 pounds or something, like just super, super preemie. But again, they had no idea that this was even, they basically told my mom that he was a little bit small, that he was on the smaller side, but this was also in 2001 as well. So, like, I think right around 9/11 time too. So it was just, there were a lot of stuff going on in the world. So.
How old were you again? I'm sorry.
I was like 4. Okay. Well, I was born in 97, 98, 99. Yeah.
Okay. So you're kind of too young to really realize what's going on.
Nope. I just knew my little brother took my parents away from me. I was pissed. So I did not like it.
What did you do with them being gone so much?
So honestly, it takes a village. Like, so I have my biological dad as well. So I would stay with him a lot, and his parents, who shortly passed away right after that, but they were alive during this time. And I was with them a lot. I was with my mom's parents a lot. My stepdad parents, who I was kind of just getting to know still, they ended up staying in the hospital that whole time too. So I also didn't really grow that relationship with them at that time either. It was all 4 of them kind of always at the hospital. And my mom did her best. She tried to come home as much as possible. From what I remember, I just know that relationship that I had with her just wasn't going to be like that anymore. So that was kind of how it was. And that's been like that for as long as I can remember, just different medical issues. The doctors just looked at my mom and said, just enjoy the time you have with him. We don't know what's wrong with him. We have no idea. He doesn't have any of the markers for Down syndrome. It's nothing like this. We've never seen this before. And he's the only one in the world with this condition as far as we know. So they started doing some genetic testing, and they found out that he has like a deleted portion of a chromosome and then a duplicated portion of like another chromosome. So like that specific genome sequence, like nobody else in the world. There's one girl, and I think my mom said Germany, that one of the doctors had told my mom about, that she's the one that would be the closest to him. And the doctor's like, so you have Down syndrome, that's like trisomy 23, which is like a duplicated chromosome. Well, he has like a duplicated chromosome, not that one, and then a deleted portion of another one. So it's just like a random thing. And they said it'll never happen again. They said nobody else. So we all also got genetic tested to see if it was something that we could pass on, if my mom could pass it on to other kids. And every single person has always said it was just a fluke. It was just a fluke during the pregnancy, essentially, when he was being formed. So they have no idea what caused it. It will never happen again. So growing from that, he's probably had about 50 to 60 surgeries in his life, just random things that pop up. And my mom made a decision when he was younger, because the doctor said, enjoy the time you have. We have no idea, that they were going to, it's really easy to take a sick kid and put him in a bubble. But he was so resilient and he pushed himself so much, he finally got the chance to walk, and it was very delayed, finally got a chance to talk. He did sign language for a long time, so we all spoke sign language to him for a while, talking, walking. So he finally got to that point. And then once he could do that, he wanted to do what the other kids in his class were doing. So he's not necessarily developmentally delayed. It's just more physical. but he had a special ed in school. He went to a public school. He couldn't go to the same Catholic school I went to because we didn't have a special ed program. There wasn't anything that could accommodate him there. So he actually went, he was the only one to go to a different school, and which was right next door. So they, where's it going with this? So him growing up, he finally got the chance to do all that. So he started, playing baseball, like a Miracle League baseball, which is with other disabled kids. But he ended up stopping because he didn't like it, because he was able to understand that he wasn't like them. Now, physically a little bit, but not mentally. So he knew, he was like, no, I want to play baseball at my high school, but he wasn't able to. So he really got into the drums, and he started playing the drums. He's so good at the drums. He's super, super good. So he'll play the drums. He did the marching band all throughout high school. And they only let him do the marching band if he had an aide with him at all times. So my aunt gave up her job to be with him at every single practice and every single band camp and every single game, because he needed somebody standing right next to him, like legally. And so my aunt decided to do that, and she was with him at every single game, parades, everything, just so he could live like that and have that. So my mom made that decision that, the doctors wanted my mom to put him in the bubble, but my mom was like, no, I would rather him, the life that he has, I would rather him use whatever time we have with him. Maybe it's 12 years, maybe it's 15 years, maybe it's 30, that he's going to do anything he wants to do in that time that he possibly can. I'm not going to make him sit on the couch and make him be in this bubble. I would rather him have a shorter life that's more fulfilling for himself and what he wants to do, than a longer one of him being on having surgeries all the time.
Right.
And she made that decision that the only surgeries that she was going to make him do, I say make, but it's, as a parent, you're making that decision for your kid. But the only surgeries that she was going to make him do essentially were ones that would directly help his quality of life. So if it was like something you have to do, so it just, I would say the most recent that I recall would be he, random things pop up: eyes, spine, hips, feet, knees, everything. So his genetic makeup's just not the same. His bones are different than ours. The way his heart looks is very different. His body shouldn't work, but it does. His body's just adapted. And he has this connective tissue disorder. So all of his connective tissue is like double or triple the size of ours. It's it's just very, very thick. And it mostly affects his feet and his hands. So basically they went in and essentially did like a carpal tunnel surgery on him, just cut both of the connective tissue, because he lost the ability to write in high school, because he couldn't grasp the pencil. He couldn't do all of that stuff. And he did the iPad most of the time, but he should be able to write. So then she made that decision. That was the most recent one besides his spine ones that I can really recall. But yeah, it's just, again, I cannot, there's always somebody that's going to have it worse than you. And, I grew up seeing that, and it's always in my head, like, I'm sitting here, I'm complaining that I'm hungry. First of all, I chose to do this. I'm a bodybuilder. I'm too going to be hungry. But I have Crohn's disease. I have different things going on. It's really hard for me to feel bad for myself ever when I've grown up with that. And I know you necessarily shouldn't see that, but it's, don't take your health for granted.
Yeah.
Also, going back to that.
So Spencer had multiple, disability is the right word to use. That word's, I don't know. It makes me cringe sometimes.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to label. But, yeah. So what would the point of putting him in a bubble be? Just so he couldn't get hurt?
Basically.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Basically. So they could have a microscope on him. They wanted to, Baylor University's done studies on him. He's been to the Mayo Clinic. He's been to the NIH. He's been everywhere. And they wanted eyes on him. They wanted to do studies on him. They wanted to, poke and prod. And my mom put an end to that really fast. At first it was the genetic testing, the stuff that we wanted to figure out, but there's nothing more to figure out anymore. You have the tests, you have his genetic makeup, let him live his life now. We're not going to. And my mom also realized, you're now taking that child, again, now you're taking my mom away from me again. You're traveling to these different places to try to get answers for him, and we're all left kind of behind. Yeah. And I'm not saying she did that. She kind of put an end to that really soon before it turned into that. But I feel like, it could happen. It absolutely could happen with a disabled child with a lot of issues. People don't think about the other siblings in that situation. And I know the parents try to, but unless you're in that situation, it's just different.
Yeah. As a parent, I'm a parent of 3. It's the weakest link is where your priority is going to be. Yep. And that's just kind of like a natural way to think. Now, you said he's had 50 or 60 different surgeries. Why so many? Is it like something else would pop up? Mm-hmm. Wow. Yeah, because I mean, when you have somebody with Down syndrome, you pretty much have not only do you have like a life expectancy, usually like average, there's studies, there's books, okay, when they hit this age, they're probably going to develop eye issues. When they hit this age, they're probably going to develop this issue. Well, with him, it's just kind of like, whoa, whenever it pops up. So, he's had different eye issues. He has corrected lenses. He's had, tubes in his ears. He's had multiple spine surgeries. Notably, I remember him getting all of the nerves in his back started twisting. Oh. And I remember they made this decision, and it was like a year in the making because it was a really hard decision to make because they had to go in and basically just untangle everything on his spine. A huge scar down his back, and he had to lay on his back, and it was at Pittsburgh Children's, lay on his back for 2 weeks straight. He couldn't move. I mean, he's a 12-year-old boy too. So like he couldn't move, he was laying down. And also you'd look at him right now, he looks like he might be 8 years old. He's 21. No. Oh. So he's older than that. How old is he? He's what you said, he's 4 years younger than you.
How am I?
How do you get?
27.
So he's 23.
Yeah, he's 23. So
you said he looks like he's 8?
Mm-hmm. I'll picture.
I'll show pictures. Mm-hmm.
So he's just extremely
he's just underdeveloped. Mm-hmm.
Yep. He just looks, and it's funny. So he's never hit puberty. He'll never hit puberty. He hit like a half puberty to where he got some facial hair and his voice dropped a little bit, but not a lot. And but nothing else happened. It just doesn't make any sense. Like it's just crazy. He's very short statured. But he's, like I said, he's amazing at drums. He loves Pitt more than anything in the world. Loves Neil McCoy, the country singer. We've met him a few times. He's a great guy. So yeah, he's done a lot in his life too. I try to take him to games. I take him to Pitt games a lot. And cause I'm the only person in the family that'll take him to a Pitt game because everyone else is Ohio State. So they will not go near Pitt. So yeah,
So Spencer's changed your life in many ways. Not only, he's your brother, though he's changed your life that way, but he's gotten you to view life a little bit differently. Definitely. Right? And that was one of the appreciation things that you were talking about. Mm-hmm. At what point did he finally come back home after this disappearance after he was born? And you actually realized, like, okay, my brother's different. And did you kind of feel concerned about it?
I don't remember a ton. I was so young, but I remember I had a lot of resentment towards him at first for a while. That's most notably what I remember because it's something that kind of strikes people. Like, what do you mean you didn't like him? Like, it wasn't that I didn't like him. I didn't understand what was going on. It was all I knew. Exactly. That's all I knew. So, I don't know when that shifted. I'll be honest with you. I really can't tell you. Maybe it was just more of a compassion thing. I saw the constant, in and out of PT, OT, the breathing treatments he would do, the blending of his food, the learning sign language so you can communicate with him, helping him walk. Like, it was just, I think it was more just like, okay, well, I'm going to help him. And there's videos, we watched them not that long ago with my family. There's videos of me like coaching him on walking. And that's another reason why I got into like athletic training and why I got into really a lot of health, because the body's always fascinated me, especially his body. But like, walking and stuff, like there's videos of me being like, okay, one more step, walk backwards. Now we're going to try walk backwards. Like he never could escape the OT. I swear he would go to OT and then he would come home and like, I would be up in his face. Yeah. Basically just family version of OT. Cause it turned into, now it's like, I don't want to say like a challenge, but now it's like something very interesting and something that I grew to like really appreciate. And then I kept asking more questions. And then the more I understood, the older I got, the more I understood, the more I was able to appreciate him for who he was. And also remember that like, he's just like us as well. He wants you to talk to him. He loves beer. He loves drinking. He takes shots with us. Like, again, he will go to a bar. He has an ID. He'll go to a bar. 100%. He keeps his birth certificate on him. Well, he doesn't drive, or he can't drive. So if he's with us, and I took him to a Pitt game once, and we went to one of the bars down there. I don't know. It was right next to the campus. And we went in and it was just, all these old dudes sitting around the bar and then me and Spencer. And Spencer just goes, hey, can I get a Miller Lite? And I swear to God, every single person, because he looks like he's 8. Like, seriously looks like he's 8, but he has like a little bit of a deeper voice. Like, you have no idea what to think when you look at him. And, but he's so cute.
I don't know if I should be laughing at this or not, because I can
You can't, because it is funny, because you always just like, if I had a picture of the bartender's face, because it was just so funny. They're just like they usually think he's joking. And then I'll be like, no. Like, and sometimes if I can, I'll avoid that and I will pre-warn, like if he goes to the bathroom or something, like I'm going to tell you ahead of time, he's 21, this is the situation. If you want to see the birth certificate, we have it essentially. But he can drink, he's fine. He doesn't get drunk or anything. He'll have like a beer or something like that. But yeah, he loves that. So I sometimes I try to re-warn it, but yeah, he's something. He's so cool.
Yeah. Now, all joking aside, do you think he would come onto the show? Like, would he be able to?
Yeah.
I would love to talk to him.
I don't really know what he would say, but there is some developmental delay there.
Sure.
But yeah, he would definitely talk. He would probably talk your ear off about Pitt, Kenny Pickett. He doesn't like Kenny Pickett anymore. He did. Everything. Country music, band. Like he goes for the band. He goes for the Pitt band. He doesn't go for anything else. He'll go to the basketball games or whatever, or the football games. He's going for the band. Okay. But yeah,
we'll talk.
Yeah.
Maybe.
But I think he would. I truly think he would. As long as I was here and he was comfortable.
Oh, yeah, sure. Mm-hmm. So Spencer, obviously, I'd say consumed a lot of your life. I don't mean that in a critical way, but what was Gabby's life kind of outside of Spencer? How was school and all of the friends, and how did that all go for you?
I don't really have any note. My sister was like relentlessly bullied, and she's older than me, and me and her had an awful relationship with each other. I don't even know. You can't even say we hated each other. We despised each other. I don't really know why. I think we were so close in age. We're only a year and a half apart. She's a year and a half older than me, but I've always been just, I don't want to say bigger than her, but just more muscular, she was like a very petite, we're the same height, but like just a lot smaller than me, more like the cross country yoga girl. And I was always just a little bit bigger boned. I've always been like that. And we always shared a room. We were like the same size. We were the same size in clothing too. So you take two, teenagers who are only a year and a half in age, who are very similar, who have the same size clothing,
we're both girls.
We hated each other. So, we would beat the crap out of each other. It was very physical, extremely physical, for a long time. And she did not have a very good, and we get along very well now. So I can say this, but we are fine now. She lives in Columbus. I visit her all the time. She has beautiful, my niece and nephew, I love them to death. We have a great relationship now, but at the time, she would even tell you, we were just awful to each other. No matter what we could just say, we just knew the right things to say to get under each other's skins.
So you guys still talk? You talk about it?
Yeah. She doesn't really, she wasn't a good teenager. So when I was a teenager, I was very, I didn't drink, I didn't party, I was just sports. I was so focused I did basketball, volleyball, track. I was very, very sports minded and sports focused. I didn't do really anything else other than school and working out. So I didn't really do a whole bunch else than that. So with her, and I also didn't really fight with my parents. I learned at a very early age, she was very different than me. She's OCD. So she would blow up and she knew how to argue. I can argue, but I know when to stop. And she just didn't know when that off button was. So her and my parents my mom and my stepdad, they would go at it. Her and my mom were so similar that they butt heads almost as much as we did. Not physically, but they would go at it constantly. So then I had younger siblings at this point as well. So you have Spencer and then Connor, who's now 21. So a couple years after that, then you have Isabella and you have Maddox. Maddox is only 10 years old now. There's a big gap in between. So, you had these kids listening to this, and they would fight for hours and hours and hours. So I always recognized that. I recognized what I had to do to not do that. So I was definitely the good kid. And I hate to say that, but I truly was. So I would take the kids, and I remember it vividly. I would take the boys into the bathroom downstairs, and I would distract them so they didn't have to listen to the fighting, because they fought My sister got kicked out of the house a few times. Like they just didn't get along. And then she went off to college. She went to Ohio State and she just changed. She became a lot more religious. She kind of opened herself up to a lot more experiences and she was able to get out and really just explore herself. And then ever since then, it's been extremely different. And whether she recognizes everything that she truly did back then or not, she's like, I'm different. Like I was like, I know, and I appreciate that. But it was rough for a while between all of us, like the house. But like I said, we're good now. But that was kind of like my childhood. I was very average, like just a very much in my own. I think I was like 10th in the state of track, or 10th in the state of Ohio in discus. Like I went to states my senior year, so I was pretty good at that. I went on to college to throw. Okay. So that's kind of. Yeah, that was my childhood. Yeah.
What made you choose throwing?
So I did basketball and volleyball as well. And then when I was in like 8th grade, maybe it was like towards the end of 7th grade year, I wanted to do track mostly because my friends were doing track. And I was a petite person. Like, like I said, I've never been like really small, but just a smaller person. And, I was fast. I knew I was fast just from other sports that I've done. So obviously you look at me and you're going to throw me into the 100 meter or 200 meter, whatever. And I would do that. I would train for that. But we didn't have like an athletic trainer. We didn't have anybody doing any type of like conditioning with us. It was just like, it was a very small Catholic school. We didn't even have a track. Like we used the public school's track after their track practice. So not a ton of guidance there. And I would just sprint all out. Like there was no like training. It was just like 0 to 100.
Warm-ups, just go.
Yeah. I pulled my groin more times. I was on crutches for my 8th grade graduation because I had pulled my groin and I just kept doing it. For some reason I couldn't not do it. Like I did it multiple times to where it was extremely painful and the doctor's like, you should probably like, I don't know if you should be doing this. Running. Like basketball was fine. Like the short sprints and like, cause you're not really going all out necessarily in basketball. But like for that 100 meters, like I could do it once and be fine. But if I tried to do a second time of that burst, that's when it would go, like every time. So the coaches basically were like, well, I don't know what to do with her. She wants to do track, but she's going to keep getting hurt. So I don't know. We're just going to put her with the fat girls. Genuinely, I swear to God. And I'm not trying to offend anybody when I say that, but like, that's especially back in the day. Like if you had a girl or a guy who was too big to run, they probably just made you a thrower. And that's just how it's been. And so I'm like over there going like bebopping over there, like this tiny little girl. And they all like, were like, okay. But the throwing coach, he recognized that I cared and that I really was a technical person. So even at a young age, he was like, you can be just as good, but we need to make up for it in other ways. So you're not going to have that strength right away. But you're not going to have the wingspan. You don't have the height. You just don't have that. So we have to make up for it in other ways. So I just started going and I did it year round all the way up until I graduated high school. Like once I started it in 7th or 8th grade, I never stopped. And then he got me into the gym as a 7th or 8th grader. I would go every day after school. We would lift, regardless of the season. Didn't matter. I would throw indoors, outdoors, didn't matter because that became like my thing. I was really good at volleyball. Basketball, I was very average. I was just a defender. Like I had a team of shooters. I didn't need to shoot. I never needed to. I knew I didn't need to. So I was just a defender. Put me on the point guard, put me on the best person because I will work hard. So just do that. But, yeah, that's kind of how I got into throwing.
So throwing discus, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Mm-hmm. So shot put's different.
I did throw shot put as well, but shot put is super
totally
different. Mm-hmm. And then hammer as well, but that's more in college.
Okay. So you're putting the throwing kind of by default.
Mm-hmm.
But you still owned it. Like
yeah.
You wanted to be excellent at it. That says a lot about you.
I'm not going to waste my time with it. If I wouldn't have picked up on it and worked so hard at it, I probably would have stopped, to be honest with you. I tried softball once. They were crap. I stopped.
I'm picturing...
Depends.
I'm picturing the team as you're walking over being like that little bitch.
I have pictures like of the podium, like from like invitations and stuff of like the podium and like what everyone looks like. And then there's me. And like, but I'd be on the podium. I'd be first or second place because I care. I was very good. I was very good for what I was.
If you were bigger, you could have been, well, you can't just want to be bigger. So outside of school, you went to college for sports?
So kind of, I mean, I knew I didn't want to go far. I was so close with my family as far as just like with my siblings and with Spencer. Like I just didn't want to go far. I knew I never wanted to go far away for college. And really, if you're from that area, there's 2 colleges that are right there. You either have West Liberty University or you have Wheeling Jesuit University. Those are your only 2 options. So I was like, well, West Liberty is, if you've ever been there, it's on a big hill, like up past Ogilvy. So you're kind of secluded, but you're still within 30 minutes of home. So I chose that specifically from that. And then I had already knew the track coach there. So then that's kind of how I was like, oh, I think I'm going to come here. And I just applied for it and got in. And like I applied for other colleges, but I wasn't super interested in going anywhere else. Because I just didn't want to leave. And I wasn't exactly sure on what I wanted to do major-wise either. So I knew I wanted to work with the body. I knew I was a very hands-on person. And I thought maybe PT or OT in the future or something. So I was like, what's my means to an end there? And that's kind of how I fell into athletic training, because I knew that was something I could take and go on to more school after, or I could practice an athletic trainer. Kind of, there was a lot of avenues you can take with that. So that's kind of why I chose that. But so I didn't go there for throwing, but I knew the coaches there anyway. So it was kind of like just an easy transition. I don't know if I got a scholarship or not. I don't really remember. I think they gave me something. I don't really remember though.
Now, were you staying on campus?
Mm-hmm.
So what was college life like for you?
So, kind of getting into that, obviously, like viewer discretion, like I'll kind of go into like my first experience on college at college. So this isn't something, I will say, like, this isn't something that West Liberty University knows about. This isn't something that I ever reported. So don't ask that, but because that one didn't happen. But sorry. So I started, when you're an athlete, you go up a little bit earlier, I guess, from what I recall. And so I went up like maybe a week earlier than the rest of the people. And I don't know if it was more just like a preseason type thing. But I moved in a little bit early. And so the campus wasn't full yet. And not all the freshmen were there. Not all the upperclassmen were there. I think it was just like mostly athletes there. And it's a very walkable campus. Like nobody really drove around or anything like that. So when I first got there, it was more just like a meet and greet the team type thing. So I get on campus and I go kind of straight to meet the team at that point. And I kind of just went into like the coach's office and kind of met, I met the captain. I met just like some different people in there. So then everyone's talking, just getting to know each other and everything. So I get added to this like group text for it. And then I text in that, and then everyone's kind of later, hey, we're going to go out tonight. And like I said, I didn't drink in high school. I didn't drink. I didn't really go out. I'm not saying I never drank, but like, it just wasn't my thing. So I didn't have a tolerance. I didn't have anything like that. And I'd also just gotten out of a 5-year relationship. I dated the same boy from 8th grade all the way up until my senior year. And he, amazing person. I wish him the absolute best. But he was a little bit older than me. And he was probably like, when I was a senior, he was like ready to like take the next step in our relationship. And I was like, I'm going off to college. Like, I just wasn't ready for that. And that's kind of why that didn't work out. Super good guy though. But I was kind of just fresh off of that essentially too. So I was like, I wanted to meet new people. I wanted to explore. I wanted to be that person because I've never done that before. So everyone's like, oh, we're going to go out tonight. I'm like, okay, cool. So, when you go into like the dorms that I was in there for the freshman dorms. So you walk in and like one side is all freshmen in that wing. And then the other side's all upperclassmen in that wing. And then you walk in and like all the RAs, like the resident assistants would sit in the middle and like they kind of just monitor what's going on essentially. So, I was just in my room essentially. So there was the captain of the track team. He was the captain of the throwers necessarily. I don't really remember, but he was just like, he was a super senior kind of older guy that a lot of people looked up to. I don't really want to name his name, to be honest with you. It's not really going to make a difference. Yeah. But, so he was in that group text, obviously everyone was in the group text. And then, everyone was talking about like what time we were going to meet. And I was like, I'll meet you guys like in the lobby essentially. Like, I don't really remember how it all happened. All I know is I was like mid getting ready and I had begged, my roommate was also there with me and I begged her to come with me because I didn't want to be alone. I begged her and she just didn't, she wasn't feeling it, didn't go. I couldn't talk her into it. And like, all of a sudden I get like this knock at the door, and it's the captain of the track team. And I was like, well, first of all, how did you get to my wing? Because you can't just get into the wing without having a key card access. So he was able to get in. He also, how did you know what room number I was? Like, it was like, what is going on? But I, young and dumb, I was like, oh, cool. Like, I don't know. So I asked him, I was like, how did you know where I was? And he was like, oh, I'm an RA. So he has access to everywhere. He has access to everywhere. And he has access to know what rooms people are in as well. So he kind of used that and showed up at my door. And again, I kind of almost found it flattering at that age. So he had like some drinks with him and stuff. And then I probably like twisted teas or something, because I don't really like the taste of alcohol, and had like a twisted tea. And then it was like I said, it was a walkable campus. So we walked from there to this. They're all house parties. It's all house parties there. They're all like basement house parties too. It is like this main house that everyone always partied at. So we went there and ended up seeing a lot of people I knew. Like, it was a super fun night. I had nothing, like, at that time, like nothing weird, nothing like that. Talking to everybody. The whole team was there. So I felt pretty comfortable. Like, I knew some of the people. I knew some people from like my hometown that happened to be there that must have been going to that school. So it was fine. And then I just don't really remember a ton after that. Like, he had the drinks, and I just kind of know that I was getting tired or something. And then we walked back to the dorms, the building that I was staying in, or that the dorm is. So upperclassmen on one side, lowerclassmen on the other side, or freshmen on the other side. And he was staying in, his room was on the other side. My room was on the side. So the RAs, they don't stay out there all night. So it must have just been so late that there was nobody else in the lobby, essentially. So as we go in, and I was probably, whether I was just really drunk or whether I was drugged, I really don't know. I don't remember. But all I really remember is I kind of like went to go to walk to my side, and then being just like kind of pulled, not aggressively, but just kind of like encouraged and pulled a little bit to go to that side instead. So I was like, and then, so I go to his side, and he like had a room that was basically right inside that door. So it was extremely simple, just go right in without anybody seeing anything. So we go in there, and I remember he had this huge beanbag that took up like half the room. And the dorms there are like room, and they have a shared bathroom. So there's somebody else also like there too, but not there, but like on the other side. So then you have a bathroom. And so I remember like just walking in and seeing that, and then seeing the bed and this big giant beanbag chair. And I just remember like plopping on the beanbag chair by myself, fully clothed. I remember the beanbag chair. And then truly after that, like, it is extremely fuzzy. Like, that's even fuzzy, but I just kind of remember waking up at some point in the middle of the night, thinking I was having a nightmare, thinking I was dreaming, thinking I was just like hallucinating, whatever. And I was on his bed, but I didn't have any clothes on, or at least my pants were off at some point. And like, he was like behind me, and I don't recall saying anything. I just recall just being laying, essentially, like because I didn't really know what was going on, or if I was making it up, or what was going on. There was no reaction from me at all. And then that was kind of it. I kind of must have just blacked right back out after that. And then the next day, I remember I finally like came to, and he was in the shower, and I just heard the shower running, and there was nobody in the room. And I was so confused because like I didn't have any pants on. I remember falling asleep on the beanbag chair. Like I don't remember what happened. I was so embarrassed. So I just like, he didn't even see me after that. Like I hurried up, I put my clothes on, I found everything, and I ran out of there so fast. I don't even know if I wore shoes, straight like onto my side. Nobody even saw me. I don't know what time it was, super, super early in the morning. And I just ran out of there, and we truly did not talk after that. Like, there was no conversation between me and him after that. I never confronted him. I felt disgusting. I felt maybe I was pregnant. Maybe I had diseases. I was like, I had convinced myself that all of this stuff was wrong with me. So I didn't report it, didn't do anything. I immediately took a shower, didn't tell a soul. And then I had to go and see him at track practice like the next day. So again, no conversation. This was normal to him. He didn't do anything wrong. If you asked him now, he probably wouldn't. What do you mean? Like, I didn't do anything wrong. She wanted that. Like, it's to him, that was something that I don't know. And he didn't say anything wrong with that. So I was around him so much, and I just became like miserable. I became miserable. My hair started falling out. I was so stressed. Like I said, I convinced myself I was pregnant. I convinced myself all this stuff. I wasn't. I never was pregnant. I didn't get anything, but I just convinced myself that I did. And then I got to a point where I was so fed up with it that I almost reported it. I almost said something to somebody. And then it came out that there was another freshman who had made accusations against one of the football guys who actually knew. He was a super nice guy. And she made accusations against him, and people were just destroying her. People were destroying her. And it actually came out with proof that she actually made it up because he was black and she was white. And she admitted to it at some point. So it was like a running joke, almost like the freshmen are accusing these upperclassmen of these things when, because of that, and it ruined it. Like, and I hate
that was after.
It was after. Mm-hmm. But I was like thinking about maybe reporting it, thinking about whatever. I was kind of at my peak. And then I heard that and I was like, no, because I'm not going to be that next person that everyone's talking about. The things they were saying about her, about him, like I didn't want, that was my introduction to that school. And I didn't want to be any part of that. So I didn't say a word. And then I kind of just got to a head where after a year and a half, so I was there for an entire year and a half. And I finally was like, I hate it. My passion of throwing left. I was really good at faking it though, but I didn't love it anymore. I didn't want to be around him all the time. He was still around all the time. So eventually I was like, I need to get out of the situation. So I started doing like research into, if I leave the athletic training program here, where can I go to where I don't have to start back over? So once you're in a program, it's really hard to just go straight into the other program without taking time off. But luckily those two curriculums were so similar. They're actually based off of each other because they were so close that I was able to just kind of jump into and not actually have to backtrack at all in the program. So I reached out to Wheeling Jesuit University, which was again still in Wheeling, but maybe like 20 minutes away. So I ended up just transferring over there. I did try throwing there, and I did throw there for a little bit, but like I said, the passion and the need just wasn't. I didn't have that anymore. Yeah. So I kind of transitioned into just lifting myself. And I was also learning about the body and learning about everything in athletic training school. So taking like the individual muscles and taking everything, like being able to work that in the gym and knowing what I'm working, like it was very interesting to me. So that's kind of how I got into that and just really started lifting more. And I was always strong from throwing regardless, but really just getting into like my own body and figuring out for myself and having that control over myself.
Yeah. I have two questions for you about the situation that happened. And it's to help some of the viewers that might have been through situations like that or know someone who's been through something like that. Why don't females say anything? Why is that the first, I'd say instinct is just to keep your mouth shut?
I can't really speak generally because every situation's so different. But in my case, one, it was judgment. It was embarrassment. It was, nobody's going to believe me. And at that point, I mean, it's a he said, she said, there's no proof. And I love Law and Order, SVU. I've seen every single episode, and not that real life is based on the stories by any means, but I do know enough that you need some type of proof for anything to stick, unless it's all talk. And unless you make that decision, I would have had to wake up the next day and immediately go to the hospital. If you touch yourself in any way, if you go take a shower, anything like that, it's now gone. Yeah. So unless that was a decision that I would have had to make immediately, and that was it. And I was just not in the right state of mind to make that decision at the time until way later. And then by that time, it was just, I knew that there was just probably nothing I could do about it. And I would just have to try to move forward as much as I could. But I had to recognize that to be able to then, I started going to therapy, and then I started to actually talk about it. But I really didn't admit out loud what happened until I transferred schools. And the school I transferred to, Wheeling Jesuit, was more of a Catholic school. It was a religious school, but I'm not super religious, but I have a lot of faith. And we went on this retreat. It was just a campus wide, it was open to anybody. It was led by a minister, but it wasn't religious, I would say. It was just more, it's what you made of it. It's a lot of self-reflection. It's kind of, it was as religious as you wanted it to be, but it didn't have to be. So for me, it was just all about finding myself, and there was no service. It was like a cabin in the woods, essentially like that. I'm just being led by these directors that were trying to make you think about your life and make you think about the person you want to be, whatever. And that was the first time that I said it out loud. I talked to the minister about it, about what happened. And he was basically like, what do you want to do about it? Like, this is up to you. Like, do you want to tell somebody? Do you want us to do something about it? And I was just like, no, I really don't. I really don't want to go further with this. There is nothing we can say. I don't have text messages. I don't have anything. Like, I thought about it. I was like, is there anything I could use? And it was just a word. He was long gone, graduated by then. I didn't even know what he did at that point after that. Like, I have no idea. So I chose to just kind of let it go and grow from there. And then he encouraged me to get into therapy, encouraged me to, keep talking about it and keep trying to just grow. And that was the best thing I could do, is just learn from it and try to move forward.
How did it feel to finally tell somebody about that?
I cried quite a bit. It definitely felt like a big relief, because I've been holding it in for so long. Like I said, my hair was falling out. There was actual physical effects on me keeping that inside. And I don't feel like I truly would have been able to ever move on fully from it. I truly feel like I have moved forward so much since that time in my life. But I was able to, just finally breathe and let it go. I have really bad anxiety anyway. So picking my fingers, that was really bad. I would make my fingers bleed. That all got better after that. So it was just physical manifestations of it. I was finally able to just let it go and move forward to get therapy and actually continue to talk about it. It's not like I talked about it once and stopped, but like I said, not a lot of people in my life know about it. I think I finally told my parents, because I transferred schools and didn't tell them why. I transferred schools and basically made up this hey, I'm gonna transfer to Wheeling Jesuit because the education here is not enough, and I just made up this reason that made no sense probably to them, but they were like, okay, whatever. And so I transferred schools and lied to all of them about why I was transferring schools. And then finally, I think I might have been close to graduating. I finally told them, this is why I actually transferred schools. And they were extremely emotional. It was an emotional time, but I did feel like it was important to be honest with them at some point about it. And that was also an extreme relief. And I think that helped our relationship, because we never, like I said, had a really, really close relationship. So I do think that time was also important, and they felt they appreciated that I was able to talk to them.
Sure. Speaking of relationships, were you in any relationships after this happened? And if so, how did that affect?
Not for a while.
Yeah.
Not for a while. I had a few smaller ones, nothing big. I definitely took a major step back because, like I said, that happened kind of right after a 5-year relationship. So I was ready to get out there and really start talking to people and exploring my options. And I just wasn't able to do that after that for a long time. I did at some point start dating somebody maybe once I transferred. So once I transferred to Jesuit, that's when I finally got into a new relationship, once I started talking about it. And it was one of the first things I told him. I was very honest about it. And it definitely affected my sex drive a little bit, or just my comfortability factor. I never slept naked after that. Things have changed since then, but just at that time, this is why it was more just hey, this is why I'm kind of this way. I'm just
sheltered.
Yeah, I'm a little sheltered. I am going to sleep with clothes on all the time. I might ask a little bit more questions. I might, if either of us are drinking, even, I don't care what it is. We're just not, just know that nothing's going to happen. I don't have to turn you down. Just know that if I'm drinking, we're done. You're drinking, we're done. We're not going to go there. That's just how I am. So it didn't necessarily negatively affect the relationship at all, because by that time I had started to move forward and I was able to recognize what I needed in that. So I don't really feel like it did all that much, but for a period, yes, it definitely did.
Yeah. There's a lot of things that have happened in your life that have turned out to be good in the end. Mm-hmm. Like your brother, all the crap that he went through made you want to help people. Mm-hmm. This assault made you kind of find passion in bodybuilding. Mm-hmm. So I want to say, it's a horrible thing to happen, but it had somewhat of a happy ending. So tell me a little bit about your bodybuilding career and what kind of got you into that.
Yeah, so obviously that definitely had a huge part in it. So when I transferred to Wheeling Jesuit and I kind of called it quits on throwing, I really was just focusing on in the gym. And like I said, I was growing in all sorts of ways. And I met somebody extremely like passively that had competed before essentially. And I was like, I want to try that. Like, and it wasn't much more than that. I'm from a really small town, not a lot of bodybuilders, not a lot of knowledge around bodybuilding, not a lot of gyms. So it wasn't something that was common by any means. So I was like, hey, when I graduate, I really want to try to do a show. And that's the only like thought process. It was like, I'm going to do it when I graduate. Cause I knew at the time that it was an unrealistic goal while I was on a meal plan and living in a dorm room, not having access to an oven. Like I knew that wasn't going to happen. So, and at this time it was 2019. So there was no wellness class. There was bikini, figure, whatever. And I knew wellness didn't exist, but I knew I would try to go for bikini. But again, I was just too big, but I tried and I didn't have that guidance either. So I hired this coach, to help me as much as he could. And he it did not turn out well, obviously. I looked like crap my first show. Pictures are hilarious, but like, it wasn't about that. Like looking back at it, I don't regret a single moment of it at all. Like that was my means to that. Yeah, he was a shitty coach, but like, it was whatever. I don't even know if I paid him. Like truly, like it was just like a friend, like, it's fine.
Sure.
But that's kind of how it is. And it was when I was on that stage, when I first started lifting back and then bodybuilding, it wasn't like, I didn't do it because of what happened to me at first. And then once I was on stage and started talking to people about it and started posting about it and being a little bit more open about it. And, you're in that bikini, like, I think some people see that and they're like, oh, she's full of herself because that's a very selfish thing to do because bodybuilding is a selfish sport. And little clothes, a lot of makeup, a lot of people get implants and they see that as this very, very superficial thing. And for me, it was about, this was me against me, truly me against me. This was how you look on stage is a direct impact on how you treat your body and what you do for your body. And, this was a very controllable, control the controllable. Like this was something I could control. And then, I was also diagnosed with Crohn's disease around the age of 20. So I was kind of also battling that as well. So I wanted to get that in check as well. And I had that before I started competing. I kind of had it in check. But with that, I kind of was like, this is when I was on stage for that first time, while I was not prepared and I was not lean enough by any means, like, I was like, this is the shit. Like, I felt good. I felt in control of my body. Like, those people in the audience are only seeing me because I want them to see me. They're only seeing what I want to show. And when I leave here, they're only going to see what I wanted to post. They're only going to see, like, it was about the control over my body, like taking back control of my body and not hiding it anymore and being open with it. So that's kind of not necessarily why I got into it, but like once I was there, I was like, oh, I think this is truly how I can move forward with myself. And that helped a lot.
I love that.
Yeah.
So recently, I think a couple months ago, you competed in Kentucky.
Mm-hmm. In September.
Tell me about that show.
So I have my coach is Cash, and he has a lot of Olympians between bikini wellness. And I had a coach before this. So I started competing in 2019, and that coach kind of ghosted me. Like, it wasn't obviously not a good situation. But after that show, I met Catherine Younger, and she's based out of Columbus, super amazing person. And we just clicked. And she was at this show. She had a client at that show, and she didn't know me hardly. She didn't owe me anything, but she helped me. She helped me with advice. She helped me, like as much as she possibly could the day of the show, just like with little stuff, like the girl stuff, like that my coach didn't even tell me. Like I was not prepared for it at all. So she really was just a really kind person and took me under her wing. And then I kind of made a decision after that I was going to hire her. So she then took me from, that 2019, we tried figure, but I was just not, my body genetically, Italian, just wants to go towards more of the wellness. I can grow a lot of muscle in my lower body. So I, after getting feedback, I did a crossover show for wellness and figure the first time wellness came to America.
So you competed in a figure and then compete on?
It was the same show. Same show, yeah. So I crossed over and they let me wear the same suit. I just had different bottoms made. So I was able to do it without the connector. So I did that show and then the judges, all the feedback was just like, go towards wellness. And I ended up getting second in wellness, I think that show. And then the second show we did after that, I won the overall for like Miss Ohio. It was like the first ever Miss Wellness Ohio. And that was in 2020, I think. And then, I just went on and kept competing from there essentially. And she coached me all up until after my last show. So I did Chicago. And then we became so close as friends that I wanted to separate that again. And it became really hard to separate it. And I was like, I love you so much, but I need somebody that is just so brutally honest with me. Like, that's not afraid to hurt my feelings, not afraid to hurt our friendship. Like, I really need that. And I love her to death. And I would have anyone else, she'd coach anybody else I know. Like, I trust her enough to where I would give her anybody, but me personally. So I dropped her at that point and we're still extremely good friends. Tried another coach. And this was just like this past year, tried another coach for a while. We just didn't really mesh. And then I found Cash and I had known Cash for a while, but not super personally. And I knew him as a very, very hard coach. I knew he's abrasive, he's loud, he's hard, but he produces. And I knew that. And, I needed that. I needed somebody to be in my face and to be, I don't need a babysitter. I need somebody in the gym with me. Just tell me what to do. But he's brutally honest. But he can also be your cheerleader if you need to, but like, he's not that person. He's not peanut gallery that's going to hype you up all the time. He's going to be hard on you. He's going to make sure you are successful. And I knew that. And I had one phone call with him when I was still on the fence. And he told me on that call, he was the first coach ever to be like, I'm going to turn you pro. I'm going to turn you pro. It's just a matter of time. So give me that option or give me that opportunity to do that. So, and I hired him after that. So we started prepping. Well, we started just working together. So obviously I have Crohn's. He needed to take a moment and really learn what works for my body, what macros. So we started with macros in the off season, and just growing with him. He gave me a workout plan and I just really took off with it. And then, he finally was like, all right, let's start a prep. Let's see where it goes. So then we started a prep, switched over to a more meal plan focused. And then he never gave me a show date. He was like, this is our first show together. I'm not giving you a show date. Just prep. Just do it. So I did it. And it was a long, long, long prep. I don't even know how many weeks. It was very long because my body just is a little bit slower. And you have to be. With Crohn's, it's not something that you can be done very fast. I would rather cut over a longer period of time, a little bit better, and not have to be so drastic about it. So we prepped and prepped and prepped. And then finally at 4 weeks out, he was like, all right, you're ready. Pick a show. And he basically gave me a list of shows that were within the next like 4 weeks. And I just chose Kentucky. I don't really know why. He was like, this would be a good show. And I just chose it. So what really wasn't a whole lot of decision making. I just kind of did it. And then we made the call and then I just did the drive. I drove up the day before the show, competed, and then drove home.
How'd you do?
And then I won the overall for wellness.
Deal.
So
that's so crazy because, most coach clients, they have shows picked out months, if not a year in advance to prep towards. And the fact that you were just prepping just to go through the motions. And then, I mean, that's a different way to go about it. But you can't get in your own head either. You know what I mean?
Yep. I've never prepped like that before. That was always something like I always usually knew when my show was. That's always, someone asks you, you're prepping, you're lean. Someone asks you when's your show, you can usually answer it. Oh. And I'm just like, and every time it was when I'm ready. My answer was just when I'm ready. I don't know. When coach says I'm ready, I don't know. And but it was okay because it was less pressure on me. As I was like, as long as I know, and it was something you had to earn too. Like I knew because he doesn't take on a lot of amateurs. So like, I represent him. He knows I represent him. The judges all know him and know that I represent him. So he wasn't going to put me on stage unless I was ready. So it was something I had to earn. He had to see that and he had to earn, or I had to earn that he thought I was ready. And it was like something I had to earn.
That's a good way to look at it. I never thought of that. So he had a reputation of about putting you on stage.
Yeah. And I think his wellness girl also won the overall the year before. And maybe the year before that, like he always has the overall at that show. So he looked at me before the show. He goes, keep my fucking title. I was like, okay.
So And you're actually in prep now. You do have a show date in mind. And if you can't tell by your freaking shoulder veins, and you're not that far out. How far out are you, Gabby?
A week today. So today is a Friday. It is next Friday, December 13th in Dallas, Texas.
Wow.
Yeehaw. It's nationals. So, we knew after after Kentucky, you get in your head. You don't really think about the next step. You try to, you're really, truly, the only thing I was thinking about that day is what I was going to eat after that show. It was what reservation, what game am I going to go find? I had bison. It was amazing. But like, what am I going to eat? But I actually saw Becky Clausen backstage, who is who's an Olympian judge. Amazing person, super nice. And I overheard her talking to my coach, just like, is she going to do nationals? Like just talking about me. And I was like, just kind of listening. And then I kind of just like weaseled my way over there because I'd never met her in person, but it's someone I look up to, someone who's a really good representation of the females in the industry. So I introduced myself and, she was like, are you going to do nationals? And I was like, coach tells me I'm ready for nationals, whatever. She goes like, do nationals. And she very much encouraged me. And I said, it makes me a little nervous because I know I'm going to get outsized. Like, there are these girls who, they fly in for these shows from across the country or even out of the country. And I'm just this small town person in Pennsylvania that goes to a Crunch Fitness. Like, I don't know, I'm going to get outsized. And she was like, it's just not about that. She was like, we're not only looking at the size. We're not only looking at the size of your quads. Like, it is just your package. And you have some of the best arms I've seen and like not too overpowering, but like something on stage. Cause I don't pump them up at all when I go on stage. But just like overall, she was like, just come in a little bit leaner. And she's like, I think you'd be extremely competitive. And it was just like that push I needed from a judge that's going to be there that I was like, and then they'll remember you. She'll remember that conversation. She'll remember just seeing me that show. Hey, I told her to come in a little bit leaner. Guess what she did? And sometimes they reward that. So I don't know how it'll turn out. I mean, obviously if I turn pro, it'd be amazing. And I know it will happen eventually. But if this isn't the time, it's not the time. And I would really like top 5. That's really my goal. But at the end of the day, as long as I bring that best package, I already did in Kentucky. My package I brought in Kentucky was the best I've ever looked fully. So I think I can bring an even better. My coach looked at me after that show because I was extremely happy with how I looked. And he goes, this is the worst you're going to look with me. This would be the worst you ever look.
Wow.
So it was encouraging, but also like, I know there's more I can do. There's more I can do for this. So like I said, he's not a cheerleader. At all. Like, congratulations, give you a hug, thank you. But this is the worst you're ever gonna look with me.
Like shit.
I can make you look like you're gonna look even better with more time and even better as I get to know your body and just trust me on this. Yeah. So that's pretty much what we are doing for nationals.
And just think, Abby, I mean, you're only 27, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I mean, peak muscle maturity is not until the 30s.
Yeah.
And you have at least a decade of time to, I mean, I know you want your pro card before 10 years from now.
Yeah.
So that's your goal. Like that's what you're going for. Ultimate goal.
Ultimate goal. Yeah. But like I said, I'm not going to cry myself to sleep at night if I don't turn pro. Obviously I want that. I'm going to try extremely hard to get there. But right now, especially for this year, like it's about bringing that best package. My second show with this coach, I did try nationals once. I did North Americans in 2021. I got my ass kicked. I didn't place. Like I was lean, but I was just way too small, really small. And, I never even got off the end. So maybe like 15th or 16th, whatever. Like, so truly like having that nationals background, like I really just want to do better than I did at nationals. I want that last national experience I had. I want to do better than that this time.
So, I know you don't want a participation trophy, but any stage times.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Right.
You learn something every time.
Just being in that atmosphere, exposure to the judges.
Yeah.
It's all very valuable. Mm-hmm. What do you do for work? Did I even ask you this?
I do so much.
Let's hear it.
So, like I said, I'm an athletic trainer. So I went to school for that and I worked as an athletic trainer for years. So I do love athletic training, but as far as growth goes, there's not a ton of growth you can do with it. Especially if you're kind of stuck at that high school setting. So unless you want to go back to school, which I knew I didn't want to do. So kind of, decided to, when I got into bodybuilding, I started meeting a lot of more fitness people in the area and vendors and whatever. And I kind of got the job. I work at GNC headquarters now. And I transitioned from athletic training to GNC headquarters full time, just from knowing the right people truly. they essentially made up a position for me, and I kind of had to work to then make it into a real position, essentially, that to where I have now. I was promoted since then. But now I'm in it, and it's been like 2.5 years now, and I love it there. And, I'm able to, I do a lot for like GNC TV. So like if you go to any GNC in the country and you're like, hey, do you know Gabby? They're going to know who Gabby is. They have to watch Gabby, on this GNC TV episode, like a lot of the time. And it's just me talking about like current promotions and whatever, like in this green screen area. So I do that for work, and just a lot of like little stuff as well, just like store operations, like anything the stores need, kind of bridging that gap between corporate and stores. So I'm like that middleman. But that's what I do for work full time. But I also do personal training, so athletic training, personal training, and then like GNC stuff, and then obviously the bodybuilding stuff. Okay. It's a little bit of everything. I do a lot of like wrestling tournaments. Yeah, I work a lot with high school athletes, a lot of females, honestly everybody. A lot of wrestling tournaments on the weekends, traveling for that. I do football games every Friday night. I'm always at a football game doing, working it. Like I do a lot of McKees Rocks ones because they don't have a full-time athletic trainer. So I work all their home football games. I'll travel with them. Home basketballs I'll do as well. So just kind of, and they pay pretty well too. Like athletic training pays pretty well if you do it on the side. Yeah. Not full-time though. So I'm able to, and it's something that it's all after work. It's after I work out, or I'm able to move my schedule around for it, and where it's like a Friday evening and like when my stuff's all done. So truly on prep, I would rather be busy and be out doing something than sitting at home hungry. So yeah, my plate's really full right now, but also like I don't really want to just sit at home either. Yeah. So maybe after prep, I'll want to sit at home more, but right now I don't. So.
Because I know we had to reschedule this maybe 2 or 3 times, and it was a combination of me and I don't know if it was ever your fault. We'll say all fault. But yeah, you were basically like, okay, these are the days that I can. There's very little time. Mm-hmm. It has to be this time of the day, this day of the week. So, I mean, you were not very flexible, but for a good reason. Yeah. Not just being difficult. And then I had to reschedule last time because I was in the hospital and I almost died. But
no big deal.
No big deal. All right, Gabby, it's time.
Oh. Okay.
Oh.
Hey. You don't want to hurt me.
I'm not going to hurt you. You already showed it.
Yeah.
I'll take it easy on you.
My
rich hand.
I'm not close. You're closer than me.
Unfair. Figure out your strategy.
Okay.
This is just for entertainment.
It's just for entertainment.
I mean, it's going to be a battle. I saw one of your social media posts. You were with David Kelly for something like that. Yeah. David was on here.
Mm-hmm. I've seen it.
A couple months ago, yeah. But
David's a great guy.
Oh, he's the best.
Pretty much all the bodybuilders in the area. But me and David have been friends for years.
Yeah.
Years. Mm-hmm. Great guy.
Yeah, my things to say about you as well. All right, line up.
What are you? I'm gonna not be on the. I'm gonna be all the way over here.
All right, I'm gonna ask you a question.
What's wrong?
What do you?
You think I do this for a living?
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Like that? That's weird.
That's how you arm wrestle.
I don't have a lot of.
Your hands small as F.
Your hands are too soft. Your hands are a lot softer than I thought they would be.
I don't know how to take that.
Did you moisturize them before?
No. Okay, anyways. I'm going to ask you a question as we do this.
Okay.
Start when you're ready.
What?
Just start when you're ready. Whenever you feel like you're ready.
I'm not going to lie. Wait, hold on. You have an advantage because you're on the...
You want me to be on the epoxy?
Yeah, I should not be on the epoxy. Ready?
So many excuses. Go ahead. All right. Oh, damn, girl. You're strong. Hi, Gabby.
Your forearms are so much bigger.
Do you have any regrets on that, Gabby?
I don't know. Do I? I feel like, sure. I feel like anyone, if you look back and you're like, I didn't do anything wrong, I feel like that's wrong. I feel like nobody can genuinely say that. Thinking of specific areas, I mean, there was definitely times where I should have been a better person, or I should have, regrets. I mean, truly, I don't know if anything would have turned out differently had I reported it. You know, I really don't know if anything would be different. So I don't necessarily know if I would call that a regret.
And I wasn't alluding to.
Yeah, just because of everything.
I just wanted to be clear.
But I don't necessarily think that would be a regret. I'm just trying to think of like things I would actually regret. But I wish I was a little bit more honest with my parents about why I was transferring. I think that support at that time would have been extremely crucial for me, but I just didn't let that happen because I just wasn't ready. And I think everything kind of all happened for a reason at the end of the day, and it's just what happens. I don't necessarily know if I have any specific regrets. I definitely think there was times where I could have been a better person that looking back on it, I could have handled things differently, or I could have been a little bit nicer in certain situations, because nobody's perfect.
No.
I'm sure as hell not perfect.
None of us are. And if we put our lives under a microscope, we can all find flaws. And I've asked that question to a few guests. Some say, nope, not at all, because everything happens for a reason. They've learned from the mistakes that they made. Then some are like, yeah, I really wish I would have this, or, I'm not going to give examples. You can watch the episode yourself and find out, but everything has happened in your life for a reason, and it has built you into the person you are today. And I think by maybe not coming clean about what happened to you in college, maybe it made you a stronger person, because you didn't have support to get you through. You had to find your own way. So maybe it was a good thing that you didn't see, because it built up your tough outer shell and just helped you get through life a little bit. I don't know. But before we close out, Gabby, do you have any questions for me? I'm going to give you a chance to ask me something if you get any questions.
Well, I asked you earlier how you've been feeling, because you've had some shit going on, and I want to make sure you're feeling okay.
I feel okay. So for those of you who haven't seen, or you're not frequent viewers, which why not? I've had multiple health issues. The most significant was blood clots. My whole right leg was clotted from my groin down to my calf. A few procedures to try to get them out. My leg, as of last week, is still almost completely clotted. It's just something that I'm probably going to have to deal with until the blood thinners break them down. The pain is gone, so the doctors are happy about that. But I'm not out of harm's way. Like, living with blood clots is dangerous. Yeah. So I'm a little nervous, I guess, a little on edge. I'm not like afraid for my life or anything, but the back of my head, you never know what's going to happen. Yeah. Which is why never take anything for granted. You appreciate life. Stop and look at life through your eyes instead of your freaking phone all the time, right? Yeah. But I appreciate you asking. I feel better. I'm not near 100%. Though. There's more time for blood thinners. Yeah. I will be eventually. And I need neck surgery because I have a herniated disc. Gotcha. Can't do that until I'm off blood thinners. Yeah. I'm a mess. Don't turn 45. 45's been hell. I'm just not. You're just not doing it? Nobody cares how old you are after 25 anyway. Yeah. Someone asked me in the gym the other day how old I was. I genuinely couldn't answer. Like, I forgot. You were kind of like, I was born in 97, so do the math. I don't know. I was like, I'm either 26 or 27. I really don't know. Nobody usually asks me that question. Nobody's asked me that question in years. You're not celebrating your 26th birthday party. No. I went out to eat for my birthday, but still. But like, normal, like... There's no balloons this way. 100%. So I was like... So, yeah. But I am not growing up after this. Good. Done with that shit. You heard it here. Well, Gabby, I appreciate you coming. Good luck at your show. Yeah. I want you to kill it. And Cash wants you to kill it. And, hopefully you can maybe come back one day and you can report back on how life has been, and you can bring your pro card with you and show it off and all that good stuff. I'll bring Spencer on one side and then the pro card on the other side. Spencer. I hope Spencer comes. Seriously. We will be in touch about that. Oh, absolutely. But please watch one of these episodes. You're going to love it. I guarantee it. And subscribe to the channel. It's completely free. It helps me. It helps Gabby. It helps my future guests. And I will see you on the next episode of Barbells and Bourbon. Peace. It's awesome.